Good morning, televiewers of my Media Prime Television. A happy week start from us at this platform. You're on to your favorite bilingual program, The Brief, which is always dedicated to the review of striking headlines in the papers. On today's edition of the program, the newspapers are focusing on two major headlines in the country. We are talking about the endorsement of Canada peace talks by both separatists and the government of the Republic of Cameroon. We are told by those newspapers that the Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister sent out a statement recently announcing that both parties have accepted to go on a dialogue table. We shall talk about reactions of political leaders as well as world leaders when it comes to this endorsement of the Canadian peace talks by both the Amazonians and the government of the Republic of Cameroon. The adoption and the assassination of Yaoundé-based journalist, of course, the manager or station manager of Amplitude FM, who was adopted and later killed by unknown gunmen, is making headlines in the papers. Reactions of journalist trade unions and other Cameroonians as well as politicians in this edition of the program. Gwladys Bomotonguina is here. Let's have the headlines in the French language newspapers. Bonjour Gwladys.
Bonjour Lasha. Bonjour à vous fidèles téléspectateurs de My Media Prime. Première édition de la semaine de Brief ce matin. Et merci à vous de rester scotchés à cette émission. Alors nous débutons ce matin avec La Voix des Jeunes. La Voix des Jeunes ce matin nous amène dans une page noire au Cameroun pour nous parler ici du décès du journaliste Martinez Zogo. Le journal nous précise ici en grand titre que la presse est en danger, qui est donc après le décès de Martinez Zogo. C'est la question posée ce matin par La Voix des Jeunes, kidnappé le 17 janvier dernier. Le chef de la chaîne de radio urbaine de Yaoundé, Amplitude FM, et animateur de la célèbre émission Embouteillage, a été retrouvé mort aux premières heures de ce dimanche 22 janvier 2023 au lieu dit Ebogo 3 à Soie. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous continuons ce matin avec Eco Santé. Eco Santé lui aussi parle en grand titre du décès de Martinez Zogo, le père d'Embouteillage dans les nuages. Alors, le chef de l'État, le chef de la chaîne Amplitude FM et présentateur de la célèbre émission Embouteillage a été enlevé, séquestré, sodomisé, torturé, tué et jeté comme une bête animale dans une banlieue proche de la ville de Soie. La découverte macabre a été faite dans la nuit du 21 au 22 janvier 2023. La presse nationale et internationale porte donc le deuil en attendant qu'une lumière soit faite sur sa disparition tragique. Les détails sont en page 2 d'Eco Santé ce matin. Nous clôturons avec l'économie quotidien ce matin qui nous parle de finances en grand titre. La caisse de dépôt et de consignation enfin opérationnelle. Richard Evina Obam et Anne Geneviève Sopo, Etamé, épouse King et Etamé, ont respectivement été nommés directeur général et directeur général adjoint de cette structure vendredi 20 janvier 2023 par le président de la République, son Excellence Paul Biya. Les détails sont donc en page 3 de l'économie quotidien ce matin. En page 5, le journal nous parle de carburant. Le gouvernement va donc réduire de moitié la subvention en carburant au Cameroun en 2023. C'est les détails ce matin à la page 5 d'économie quotidien. En page 5, le journal nous parle de l'exploitation du bois en grume. Le Cameroun repousse donc l'interdiction jusqu'en 2025. En page 4, le journal nous parle de l'exercice budgétaire 2022. La dotation générale de la décentralisation s'élève donc à plus de 240 milliards de francs CFA. Mesdames, Messieurs, voilà pour vos titres ce matin. En langue française, place à la découverte de ces titres en langue anglaise, et c'est avec toi, Lasha.
Thank you, Gwladys. Thank you to televiewers on my Media Prime Television for staying with us this morning. We kickstart with the Post newspaper. The Post newspaper is interested in the endorsement of Canadian peace talks. We are told Canada process Cameroon Ambazonia leaders agreement gives much needed glimmer of hope. And the paper tells us that various stakeholders support through which behind the process. Get full details in this edition of the Post newspaper, as you can see on the screen there. And still in the Post newspaper, let's take you to Yaoundé, the nation's political capital, to talk about the assassination of a journalist over the journalist Martinin Zogo's remains found dumped along a Soa route. The paper tells us further that Martinin Zogo, station manager of Amplitude Radio in Yaoundé, has been found dead. His lifeless body was discovered early on Sunday, January 22, 2023. Family members alongside Dr. Fridolin Nkia, a university lecturer who referred to him as, who referred to Martinin Zoga as his brother, said on a popular Sunday program on a sister television channel that the body of Zogo was discovered at a bongo along the Soa route in Yaoundé. Pictures that circulated widely on social media showed the naked, lifeless body of Zogo already in an advanced state of decomposition and visibly tortured. Full details on page 12 of this edition of the Post newspaper that you can find this morning wherever you are in Cameroon. We stay with the Post to talk about stakeholders who have strategized to increase rice production in Cameroon. The government of Cameroon, through the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, we are told, and as other stakeholders have brainstormed on ways of increasing rice production and productivity in the country. Ways of increasing productivity and production of rice in the country were examined on January 19, 2023 during the first session of the Steering Committee of Rice Value Chain Development Project in Cameroon, chaired by the Ministry of Agriculture of the country. Get full details in this edition of the said newspaper. We take you now to The Sun. The Sun newspaper is focusing on the conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Hope for peace. Pope Francis backs Canada peace process. Ayabacho, Lucas, Raymond Akoson, Abobala, Naira 10 Kondengi Diteni also reacted to the endorsement of the peace process. Canada peace process offers ray of hope to ending Anglophone crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Let's talk about the outing of the Social Democratic Front Party, the SDF. We are told the SDF Southwest declares readiness to take full control of the region come 2025. Black Weekend in Yaoundé, press freedom in danger as journalist Martinin Zogo is assassinated. We are told by the paper also that the Minister of Mines, Industries and Technological Development also died suddenly. Full details on page 2 of this edition of the Sun newspaper, talking about the Black Weekend in Yaoundé, the nation's political capital. On to municipal updates. Municipal updates newspaper is focusing on the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions. Pope Francis, Canada make fresh push for peace. The move has been widely acclaimed as the best window for all to work towards ending suffering in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Get full details on the endorsement of the Canadian peace talks in this edition of Municipal Updates newspaper, as was announced by the Minister of or Canadian Minister of Foreign Affairs, as we are told. And still talking about route to peace in the northwest and southwest region, ADF spokesman salutes Bia's determination, urges fighters to embrace peace and stop war. We are told that the ADF spokesperson sent out the call shortly after it was made public that his organization has also thrown his or its weight behind the Canadian peace talks, as we are told. Yaoundé journalist Martinin Zogo found dead days after adoption. Get full details in this edition of the said newspaper. On to the Median. The Median newspaper is also interested in the peace and security in the northwest region of Cameroon. Popular endorsement of Canada brokered peace talks. The paper tells us that hope on the horizon as Bia's regime, Ambazonia interim government, Ambazonia coalition, Agbobala Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, Cho Ayaba's Defense Force, other separatist parties all commit to engage a peace process to facilitate or to be facilitated by the Canadian government. Full details in this edition of the Median newspaper. We end with the Horizon. The Horizon newspaper this morning is focusing also on the sustainable political settlement to the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon. Canada accepts mandate to facilitate process. Get full details on the announcement of the Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister recently talking about the separatists and the government who have agreed to enter a peace process in a bid to look for the lasting solutions to the socio-political upheaval in the two English-speaking regions of Cameroon. We are back in the studio, televiewers on My Media Prime Television, and we are joined this morning by a human rights defender. Of course, we are talking about Amadou Tarnteh, who has always been with us here since the beginning of the Canadian peace talks, where the peace talks that started, and many people did not believe in that peace talk until recently that it was made public by the Canadian Minister of Foreign Affairs, stating that government and the separatist leaders have all agreed to stop the war and enter or come to a negotiated or the dialogue table. Amadou Tarnteh, good morning and welcome.
Good morning once more, Mr. Lasha. Good morning to Gwladys. Good morning to telespectators of My Media Prime Television. At least thank you once more for inviting me on your program.
How is Conscience Africaine doing this morning?
No, Conscience Africaine is very happy. We are aware of Conscience Africaine. We are very happy this morning.
Okay, to the news that came out. And the very exciting part of the news is that one of the leading armed groups in the Northwest, led by Cho Ayaba, is also part of the 5 organizations or institutions that have accepted to enter into the dialogue table.
Once more, thank you, Mr. Lasha. Let me say once more that we received this, Conscience Africaine received this news on an agreement for reach in Canada for peace by the conflicting parties of our Anglophone crisis with a lot of relief and optimism for 2 reasons. First of all, because we are glad that after our 6 years of killing, destruction of dwellings, kidnapping for ransom, arrest and arbitrary detention, the conflicting parties has finally come to reason together with us that the only way out of the crisis is dialogue and not violence. Secondly, we received the news, as I said, with a lot of optimism because we of Conscience Africaine are convinced that the initiative in Canada is definitely going to bring us a lasting solution to the conflict. First of all, because we think that most of the recommendations we have continuously made to the conflicting parties, the separatist arms group and the defense and security forces, has been reached, or has most of the recommendation has been reached on this initiative, this dialogue table, on this table that is initiated for dialogue. Like we have continuously solicited for a dialogue on a neutral ground and an inclusive dialogue, of which we think this dialogue is definitely going to be inclusive.
But there was peace. There was peace talks that actually failed, did not work out. When this Canadian peace process came, many people were like, doubting whether it was going to be fruitful. But we read from the note which was sent out by the Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister that for the past 4 months, the UN has been, at the center of trying to pull government and those armed or separatist groups to come together to an understanding. After 4 months, they agreed that they were going to enter into negotiation or dialogue. Actually,
let me say once more say here that I'm applauding the government of Cameroon, the state of Cameroon, for taking this wonderful initiative, because I believe now that the government of Cameroon have finally decided to put the interests of Cameroonians or those who live in the Anglophone regions, Northwest and South region, first before any other thing, because the most important group on this issue is the government of Cameroon, and we were always afraid when the government of Cameroon were not consenting to some of this issue.
So when we read the joint note sent out by these armed groups, or those that are leading the Anglophone struggle, and Ayabacho's group calling on the fighters to drop their arms and embrace peace,
Actually, it's a very welcome, as I said, welcome initiative and good news coming, because somebody like Ayabacho, we know, has always been one of the most radical, one of the radical separatists, because all they had keep preaching was just war, kill, destruction, and order. It's finally they have come to reason with us that dialogue is the way out of this conflict and to privilege the interests of our Cameroonians first.
A few weeks ago, he banned the senatorial elections in the northwest and southwest regions.
Actually, and after banning the senatorial election in northwest and southwest region, we saw what happened next. We had the killing of a Lekan boss and some other issues that were happening related to that. Those tell us that when
the fighters now and those that are not really part of this struggle, who just went into the struggle because they wanted to make money, we are talking about criminals who have entered. Would they hit to the cause of these leaders, especially Ambazonia?
The most important thing, as I had been saying, is that we wanted a negotiation, a dialogue, which will be inclusive and sincere. And if I think that if this negotiation is going to be very sincere, all the other parties will join suit, because we believe that there are some other conflicting parties, like the IG of Dr. Sako Ekome, have not yet consented with regard to this issue, of, like the group of Christain and others. They say they are still in Switzerland waiting for the government of Cameroon. But I believe now that this is an opportunity.
They leave Switzerland and come to Canada or go to Canada.
That's what I'm saying here, that I believe now that this is an opportunity, because if Chris Anu and the IG of Dr. Sako are saying that they are still in Canada, why Dr. Ayabacho and the others are in the other, they are still in Switzerland, why Dr. Ayabacho and the others are already in Canada. And I think this is an opportunity now for those who are in Canada to unite as one, as they have already done, while those who are still in Switzerland should equally unite and as one, so that they can join the other group, for them to join and go to this table as a unique group, and no longer as different conflicting parties. And we are equally convinced, very convinced here, that this negotiation is likely going to be a very sincere one. First of all, because if these different leaders are going, the leaders of different groups are going to this table, it will be very difficult for the government of Cameroon to corrupt this official. Because I know very well that our government is good.
The UN is involved. Canada is involved. We know what Bala is part of the people who have accepted to go to Canada. And we know the role of Abo Bala, what Abo Bala has been doing for a very long time now, traveling all over, trying to broker, look for a middle ground for these people to come together. And do you think anybody will be able to corrupt that kind of a move? No, in this situation, I think it will be very difficult. As I said, it will be very difficult to corrupt the situation, to corrupt these leaders, not because the UN is there, Canada is there, and whosoever is there, but simply because these people are going individually, from their individual groups perspective, because the presence of the United Nations and all the would have still been a lot of misunderstanding or a lot of irregularities if strict measures are not taken. And permit me use this opportunity to congratulate Mr. Barrister Abo Bala for the wonderful job too he has been doing with regard to this crisis. I believe that he is one of those that has really advocated for this issue, and the thing is going the way we have always advocated and praying it should happen. Okay. Now let me one more applaud the government of Canada for accepting to mediate on this very complicated conflict, because I believe that the Anglophone crisis has been rated as one of the most complicated or the complex conflict in the world. Okay. And this time around, nobody will question again that who mandated Canada to do that. We want a neutral ground. We want it in the presence of UN, when we all read that the United Nations for the past 4 months. No, I believe that worked so hard for this to happen. First of all, with regard to the other conflicting parties that are not yet on this race, I believe that it is very normal for a race to start as such when other parties are still outside, because it's very difficult to see some of the other conflicts that we're witnessing in the world. Always very difficult for all the parties to start at once and accept to go to a dialogue table. Most of the dialogue always start through the initiative as such. Others will be coming in one after the other, and it's a very normal thing. And that's why it's just a sign of democracy, because when other people are going, others are still discussing that no, maybe we are not yet satisfied with the conditions reached. We see one. And now the Pope, the highest authority of the Catholic Church, has reacted, which means that God too has also endorsed the Canadian peace talks. So anybody who might want to stand against these talks now is a devil in court, or trying to wrestle with God, because God too has endorsed the Canadian peace talks. Actually, God too has endorsed it. If the Pope is saying something as such, it means that it's a blessing coming from God, not only from the Pope, but from God. And that notwithstanding, we should always know that in everything as such, we always, first of all, as this war is concerned, I have always said that
We have warmongers, we have war entrepreneurs, those who are making huge gains as a result of this conflict. I know that even at this moment, they will still try to do everything possible to distract us or try to divert attention to us or to try to criticize this Canadian initiative so as to prolong the war so that they will continue reaping what they are reaping as a result of the war.
Ok, Amadou Tarnteh, parlons à présent du décès brutal ou bien de l'assassinat du journaliste Martinez Zogo. Vous êtes représentant des droits de l'homme, votre organisation du monde beaucoup prône les droits de l'homme. Au jour d'aujourd'hui, la presse est-elle en danger?
Actually, the press is really in danger. First of all, let me say the press is in danger not only because Martinez Zogo has been killed, because we have to continuously witness systematic threats against media organs in Cameroon. And Cameroon is a very dangerous. I believe that Cameroon is a very dangerous zone for journalists because journalists are not protected in Cameroon. And that notwithstanding, we condemn the gruesome murder, a kidnap and a gruesome murder of Martinez Zogo, a journalist in Yaoundé, Cameroon. So,
hello. Good morning.
Yes, I'm getting you. Good morning.
Your name and where you are calling us from?
There is a lot of noise in the background.
We'll get back to you, sir. No time to waste.
I said there is a lot of noise in your background.
Yeah, we'll get back to you. We can't keep you, please. We'll get back to you.
So I'm using this opportunity to call on the government of Cameroon to do everything possible to make sure that those to make sure that they carry out an immediate investigation to make sure that all those who are involved in such acts are arrested and prosecuted. Because the rate of impunity in this country is too much.
On a Awazizi qui a été tué et jusqu'à aujourd'hui rien n'a été fait. On n'a pas encore élucidé dans quel cadre est-ce qu'il a été tué. Aujourd'hui, on parle de Martinez Zogo et puis on va parler du qui après.
That is the problem because when it continues as such, it's very certain that even tomorrow we might have another case. That's why we are calling on the government of Cameroon not only to protect journalists, but to make sure that all these journalists, their rights are guaranteed. Their fundamental rights are respected. So make sure that somebody is not targeted because of an information. Because the journalism we are here, the journalists are to inform people, educate Cameroonians and all the rest. So if they don't want journalists to speak the truth or to want people to lie, to stand aside them whosoever that might be involved in issues, in any complicated issue, then the government of Cameroon need to do everything possible. It's time for the government to do everything possible to protect these journalists against such continuous rights violations.
Et ce qui nous ramène à la question de savoir est-ce qu'il y a véritablement la liberté de la presse au Cameroun?
Well, actually, there's freedom to liberty, press liberty in Cameroon to an extent, but to a greater extent, there is the fact that this liberty is not respected. As you said, that there's always liberty to express, but at the end, there's no liberty after expression. That's where the problem always comes from.
Amadou Tarnteh, so some Cameroonians are saying that there's a lot of laxity when it comes to the justice system in the country, what the police are supposed to do. You have open threats on journalists on daily basis. The police are there, nobody's investigating. Even when you table complaints at the level of the police regarding threats, sometimes they call journalists, threaten you on phone, tell you they are going to kill you, they are going to look for your family wherever you are. But when you table complaints of such, nobody does anything. And they only come now to talk about investigating when somebody has been killed.
That's why I've continually says here that there is impunity in this country. That is, the government of Cameroon is protecting some group of people in this country, so a group of criminals who goes about committing crimes. Because when people go on committing...
Yes, good morning. Your name, please. Where are you calling us from?
Good morning, Mr. Lasha.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm calling from Libya, Mr. Leonard.
Yes, can you switch off your TV set and talk to us directly? Don't listen to yourself, please.
Okay. I want to applaud the peace talk by the Canadian government.
Yes.
We are now hoping that peace is coming now back to Cameroon. We just pray that the people who are involved will try to understand that for a long while we have been suffering. So they should keep their egos aside and embrace what is ahead of us. So we have been crying for this for so many years. So we hope that this will come to pass for peace to reign.
Okay. Thank you for calling, sir.
Okay.
People have been crying for so long that this should happen for peace to reign. Actually, many Cameroonians are so overwhelmed with what has become of the Canadian peace talks as we are speaking now. No, we standing, Amadou Tarnteh, move on with what you were saying regarding the threats on journalists in Cameroon. You were trying to say that the government is protecting some certain groups of individuals.
Yes, actually.
To go about committing crimes.
To go about committing crime, because when somebody commits a crime, or maybe somebody called you and threatened you, and you report same to the competent authorities, and at the end, nothing is being done. And that means that those people are being protected. They are being protected by somebody somewhere in high places. And the reign of impunity in Cameroon is too much. At least the government needs to uplift impunity on some of these people and make sure that everybody who commits a crime, nobody is above the law. Everybody who commits a crime should be investigated and arrested and prosecuted accordingly. At least when something as such is done, it will scare other people from doing such thing again. But when something as such is done, and the government remains silent, we encourage the others to go ahead doing the same thing, which is completely unacceptable in a state of law like Cameroon.
Mais Amadou Tarnteh, on a l'impression au Cameroun que le journaliste est celui-là qui reçoit les balles de partout. Il reçoit les balles des populations, il reçoit les balles des autorités. Mais au jour d'aujourd'hui, qu'est-ce que le journaliste doit faire pour être respecté, honoré au Cameroun?
Well, apart from condemning the threats and every other things that have been happening to journalists, I will equally call on the Cameroonian journalists to make sure that they are always very professional. It is true that the government or whosoever does not have to target somebody maybe for practicing this profession. But when you go and realize that there are some people who are acting ultra-virus, they go beyond the journalism profession. They go beyond and do things.
Yes. Hello?
Yes, I'm calling from Israel. My name is Dipun Franklin.
The lines are not the best. I can't hear you.
Hello?
I'm
calling from Israel.
There's an issue. We're hoping that the technician fixes what is wrong with our lines. There's a lot of echo, noise. We can barely hear what the televiewers are saying. Amadou Tarnteh, you were calling on media practitioners to be professional.
To respect the ethics and deontology of
but not everybody.
Even though that's not reason for targeting them, at least when somebody does something that is not right, the person should be someone investigated and guided on what maybe the person might be ignorant of what the person is doing and guided on what exactly should be done. If the person does not know what to do, what should be done, well, rather than threatening people or killing journalists, which is first of all something unacceptable, whatsoever be the reason.
Okay. Even in Somalia, other parts of the country, journalists are always targeted. I don't know what is actually happening.
Because most of the things that is causing some of these things in Cameroon here, because we in Cameroon here, in our country, we first of all believe, our hierarchy or many of the government first of all believe more on lies telling. That's why it's encouraging some of these things. They don't want us to tell the journalists to talk the truth. When you as a journalist come out, we carry our investigation on something, we bring your information and publish it on air or publish the information. Very soon you realize that you've been targeted by some of those that are directly involved in whatsoever happened. So those are some kind of the things that are not acceptable.
Jusqu'à ce jour, Amadou Tarnteh, qu'est-ce que les journalistes doivent faire pour arriver à pouvoir reporter sans toutefois avoir leur vie en danger?
One of the greatest problems on this issue is that there's the right to communication, the right to information is not being guaranteed to journalists in Cameroon, because we realize that informations are not being given to journalists normally as it's supposed to be. When something happens somewhere and the journalists go to take information, they will not give the right information. They will not give that opportunity for you to carry your investigation properly to come out with a result. Sometimes some of these journalists are tempted now to publish their information based on hearsay, based on what the information or from whistleblowers.
Oui, mais parce qu'à un moment donné, ces journalistes, ils ont même peur de faire des investigations.
Yeah, there are sometimes that equally afraid of carry on their investigation, especially some sensitive issues, because there are some sensitive issues that sometimes when you get implicated into it, you realize that your life will be in danger. So there's nothing more important than your life. If you are doing something, realize that at least it is overexposing your life to danger. At least it's preferable to retreat and check and look into it once more again.
À la fin, quel est donc le genre de journalisme que nous devons pratiquer au Cameroun?
As I said, that the journalists too have to be professional on their own part, while the government of Cameroon needs to do everything possible to make sure that they protect these journalists.
You are coming from the civil society.
Guaranteed to them.
Amadou Tarnteh, you are coming from the civil society. You guys are supposed to be fighting for the rights of people who are being violated in the country. What concretely are you guys of the civil society doing to protect the journalists in Cameroon?
First of all, let me say here that we have been organizing a workshop to train journalists, to guide some of these journalists on even to remind some of them on the deontology and of their profession, on some of the safety, some of the sensitive issues on the way they have to carry out some of their reports. And we have equally been advocating advocating, calling on the government or whosoever, all the different parties that are concerned to make sure that they protect these journalists, make sure that they guarantee them or the right information is given to them so that they can carry out their investigation on any issues at hand and report them properly without being targeted by any parties. And we're calling on the government to make sure that all the journalists that are being targeted, to make sure that all those who are abusing journalists should be arrested and prosecuted accordingly in Cameroon to scare others from other such persons from intimidating or threatening journalists in Cameroon.
Okay, we continue to talk other issues, and of course, we are told by other newspapers that the issue of the journalist that was arrested or that was adopted, that the corpse of that journalist was taken to the Yaoundé Center Hospital for autopsy to be carried out on the bodies to finally ascertain what actually killed the journalist. And the question in Cameroon now, many Cameroonians are asking, after that, what will happen after that? Good morning. Your name? Sorry? Okay, your contribution, sir.
Yes, my own contribution is that the government has always tried to make this base called dialogue. The problem is all now the Anglophones, the state princes, we don't always want to talk with the government. So that's the problem. Now that we have decided to talk with the government, then it's a very great thing. We are very happy for that. We are very happy with dialogue, and all the problem will come to pass. So I'm very happy that we, the separatists, have decided to accept the dialogue. So that's what I'm very happy of.
How did you people receive the news on the ground?
Sorry?
How did you people receive the news on the ground?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that we are very happy about the news that we receive on the ground. We are in ground zero. We are very happy about it.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
The question my colleague is asking you is, are you convinced that this time around something is going to come out of this initiative?
Yes, I'm very, very sure that something will come out of it. Because if you see somebody like Agobala, Christain, and even the state leaders that are in the bushes, they are accepting to go for the dialogue. And then something has come out of it.
Okay, thank you for contributing.
You are welcome.
Yes. Amadou,
okay, so before the scholars came in, I think we were talking about the issue of autopsy. That after
after that,
what next? I think the first thing we need to do here is that first of all make sure that this autopsy is done by independent group of people, or those that are the right person. Because we have witnessed some of the cases here that we are working on. Because there's a young man that was tortured to death at
good morning,
at Daido here.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, can you get me now?
I'm getting you. Switch off your TV set. Switch off your TV set. Yes. Switch off your TV set, please.
No, I'm not even beside the TV.
Okay, right on. I'm getting some echo, but move on. Your contribution. How did you receive the news of the endorsement of Canadian peace talks by separatists and government?
Yeah, to me, I think the idea is a good one. But what I think is that the people who are going to sit on this dialogue table, who are these people who are going to sit on the dialogue table is a problem, because I think the people who have been imprisoned by the Cameroon government should be the people to make this arrangement, and not other people like Ayabacho, as people are mentioning in the studio there.
But these people in prison, they don't have guns, no? You only want to take the people in the prison and forget about those that have guns?
Yeah, they don't have guns really, but I think this whole thing started. This whole thing started when these people were arrested.
So what they are saying is that they should also be part of the dialogue. Of course, it's going to be inclusive.
Yes, to come out with a good result from that dialogue, the Seseko Ayok people must be.
But their group is
the other people who are outside.
Their group is represented by Sako. Sako's group is. I don't know if it is Sako. There's another group which I'm still I don't the name. I can't remember very clearly,
No,
but I know.
But we don't know because we think that the person in prison, the Siseko Ayogu is in prison, and the other people who are
Interim government.
should be the people the government should dialogue with, because it's the same thing, it's the same game, because they can buy their mind.
So if government dialogues with them, what about those that are carrying the guns? That's a question I'm asking you.
So because what I see from what you are saying now, from what we are discussing now, from what people are discussing on the table there now, is that there will be a dialogue in Canada, but why some people are still in the bushes with guns?
No, but
so
it hasn't.
Are still patrolling the whole place.
More and more people are still joining.
Innocent people. So the military, the beginning of this dialogue should be that the government should call the military back in their barracks, and then so that the people, so that the local population can also now tell the boys to drop their guns.
Okay.
But any person who has been detained should be released if we want to go into a real dialogue.
Okay, but probably that will happen when the first meeting must have been held, where people will come now and start giving their conditions.
Okay.
Thank you for calling, Amadou Tarnteh.
Yeah, so as I was saying,
rapidly before you contribute to what this last caller just said, he's saying that that the group, the Naira 10, yes, they should be part of the Canadian peace talks.
Obviously, which is true, and they are already represented. They have their own group that is already represented, by IGG group that is already being represented there, and at least it's true that we are.
Pourquoi eux ils ne peuvent pas aller?
No, the issue is that they already demoralized. It's very clear. Even if they come out today, it's very difficult for them to sit on the table. First of all, we believe that maybe those that are in prison may have already been traumatized or threatened or confused by the government, so maybe to give reasons that are not to look things in a completely different ways. But the fact that they are being held in prison for quite a long time now, have demoralized their mind. So it's very obvious that it's preferable for their representatives who are outside to sit in for them. But that notwithstanding, we are calling for the release of these leaders before this dialogue table and immediate ceasefire between the two groups. Because if these people go on the dialogue table to dialogue while there is already the still going on the field, it will be very complicated.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Welcome to the program. Your contribution.
Yeah, I received the news of the dialogue we need to. Because everybody just happy dialogue, but they haven't told us how they will collect the growth of the book from the hands of those boys in the bushes.
But Ayabacho has already begun.
Our main concern, because those boys are the ones that is giving us headache, not those leaders, not those that gather in Canada.
But Ayabacho has already called for his boys to stop fighting now.
Yes, we are in the ground. If you see the action of the boys, you will know that this boy doesn't take order from anybody. It's not something that is being coordinated. It don't have any coordination. Everybody is doing what he thinks is right. So I'm doubting how these people will tell those boys to go and drop the guns. Just to tell them, drop your guns, okay, this is what we are doing, drop your guns, things are going well now. So I'm still skeptical about that. And what the previous caller said, the military is in some way that is very easy. We will say that the military should go back to the barracks for peace to reign. I will tell that man to come to Bamenda, and then if you remove military in Bamenda for one day, then you will know what we are going through here. I don't think that was an idea. Thank you very much.
For your participation, your contribution this morning. Amadou Tarnteh, you were saying something, just right on what you were saying.
I was saying that the IG of Siseko Ayoktabe is represented on this group as well. Then there's no problem. At least I was saying that if it's true it's normal for them to be released, and we need equally ceasefire by the bilateral ceasefire by these parties for us to have a good dialogue. Because when you go into this dialogue, while people are still being killed or property still being destroyed, it will be very complicated. And more to that, with regard to the last caller who just called concerning the issue of those who are carrying guns in the bushes, I believe this group are under the leadership of those guys abroad. And once these guys must have come into consensus and go to they accept to go to a dialogue table, if they ask their armed men who are on the ground to deposit their arms, it's very obvious that they are going to deposit because they are doing whatsoever.
But this caller from Bamenda was worried. The caller was asking about what do you do with the boys who are in the bushes. I just mentioned to him that Ayabacho has called for his boys to drop down the guns and embrace peace.
Yeah, normally, that is what is normally supposed to be, because all those that are holding guns are under the leadership of these guys abroad. Once those guys must.
But now there's another issue. The IG, the interim government is divided. They are like having two different interim governments. You have one of Sako. There's also Christain, and so at the end of the day, this interim government, they have their own soldiers on the ground. What are they going to do about it?
No, that's what I said, that even though some of the parties, especially the parties or the IG of Dr. Sako has not yet joined this initiative. That's why I was saying here that we're praying for him or his group to make sure that they join this race for us to seek amicable end out of this conflict. Because I said that it's very obvious that not all the parties will accept to go into this dialogue at the same time. Even the case of Switzerland, at the beginning, not all the parties were there in Switzerland. It was later on that some of the parties were coming one after the one after the other.
Quelle a été l'issue?
Pardon?
Quelle a été l'issue?
No, the issue is that the government cannot back out of that initiative, so we don't know the reason whatsoever reason that provoked the government of Cameroon to back out of
no,
the
but
initiative.
we read clearly that the UN, for the past 4 months, has been trying to bring these people together for them to agree on getting into the dialogue. At the end of the day, after the 4 months intensive discussions amongst the UN, the Cameroonian government, and the separatist leaders, they decided to come together.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Your name? Where are you calling us from?
Hello?
Good morning. Tell us your name and where you are calling us from.
I'm calling from Suda. I'm Amadou.
Okay. Contribute, please.
Yeah, concerning the Canadian talk, I'm very happy to hear that, but the problem will be the Cameroon government.
No, but the Cameroon government has already accepted.
Representative of the Cameroon government, because the government is fond of taking Anglophones there to send to Canada to meet the same Anglophones there. That is the problem.
But
so we really need an inclusive dialogue.
So are you saying that the Anglophones that will be sent there, they will not represent the country? Those that will be representing government, they will not represent the interest of the country?
Yeah, because the Cameroon government, they are fond of that. You see, they will take Anglophones and send them to go and meet a fellow Anglophone to discuss, which is not a problem. They will not be talking at the interest of the government. So it will not be serious. So let the representative of the Cameroon government be, some Francophones should be there, and the government should be fully represented.
Amadou Tarnteh, thank you for calling. We heard what this caller has just said. Yeah. That there is a problem. The problem will be the government, that government representatives will not actually do the work in the interest of Cameroonians, because the government has this tendency of always sending Anglophones to go and talk to Anglophones.
It's true that for now we have not yet know those who that will be sent. When the time comes, we will know. But the issue here is that there are some. Actually, what he's saying is true to an extent, because there are some Anglophones. Like
the caller is saying that Francophones should be the one to go and represent the government.
No, that's not the major issue, because the issue here is that the government always send a mixed group of Anglophones and Francophones who are on the top government position, like the Prime Minister. So he's an Anglophone who knows the problem as an Anglophone well, and equally as somebody who is working for the government of Cameroon, he equally have better knowledge of what is happening. So it's very obvious. I think my major worry is somebody like Atanga Jipol, somebody we have known that they are
he's not a foreign affairs minister.
That's what I'm saying, because the government need to choose a representative. It will not even matter whether you're a foreign affairs minister or whosoever. The government will choose those that will go. Those whoever is going there is going with what the government has asked the person to go and talk there, and not going to talk as he an Anglophone. That's something they need to know, that you are going there to talk not as an Anglophone, but somebody representative of the government of Cameroon.
Dans ce cas, pourquoi ne pas envoyer plutôt la société civile?
No, I think the civil society is very obvious that civil societies will always be part of such process.
Mais dans cette société civile-là, est-ce qu'on est certain que les gens qui vont être envoyés vont être véritablement les gens qui portent à cœur ce problème?
Together, we already have, Bala has his Center for Human Rights and Democracy. Yes. So that's definitely a civil society. Yes.
We will have so many other.
But the caller's problem is the fact that government will send but Anglophones, and those Anglophones will be going to represent the state of Cameroon in Canada, will not do the job.
No, what is clear here is that they will send not only Anglophone, the obvious send Anglophone and Francophone, and whosoever is going to represent the government of Cameroon is going with the package or to talk what the government and ask the person to talk there, and not to say what he or she thinks should be said. That's the one issue the caller needs to understand, because the government is going to, whosoever is going to represent the government is going to talk on behalf of the government.
Should we be talking about positions?
No, actually, will be there, because when the government, each and every group is going with a proposition, when you are going to dialogue, you are going with your proposition.
Should we be talking about position or things that we hold so dearly? We are going to solve a problem. We put the issues under the table, and then we are facing now. We are trying to sort out other issues that are not what we are supposed to solve, like the problem.
I think this is equally one of the reasons why we have always solicited for a third-party mediator and a neutral ground, and also observers like the United Nations and other organs like the United States of America who have agreed to be part of this dialogue as well. Because when the people are scaring that Canada, I think that it's only Canada. This initiative was this something that was initiated both by the United States of America, Canada, Britain, and also other countries. So United Nations as observers and other things, they have to guide these people, because they are there as the referee or the mediator to guide those that are supposed to sit on the table on what exactly to do or how to do it. So they're not just going there, they will come there and they are confused on some certain things, and there are some certain things that they need to guide them on how this thing should be done for us to have a veritable solution to that will obviously end the war.
And so positions are already shifting. When you hear about you, whose only language had in the past been war, saying that they should embrace peace now, it definitely means that he's not going to the dialogue table with that position of Ambazonian Republic or nothing. Should the government also not take that as a strong message? No, and not go to Canada with decentralization or unity state or unitary state or nothing?
No, what I've known on this issue is that we have always solicited that there should be a dialogue where all the parties will be included, and there should be no taboo subject. Yes, there should be no taboo subject. All of them should go on the table with their own
unitary state.
No, all of them should go on the table.
Will be saying nothing or our state.
Yeah, that's why we are saying that the Amazonian will come and say that they are supposed to go normally. Those that are Amazonian go there as an Amazonian, but try to convince the government of Cameroon and the other parties to believe that what they are asking for is the right thing that should be done. If they are able to convince the government of Cameroon and win, then they should go out as Amazonian and separate and go their way. But if they are not unable to convince the government of Cameroon, tell them that this is what will guide us, and they I said that they will have observers and a mediator as well that will be there to be guiding them and to explain to them when they will go on the wrong track. They will first only make them understand. But it's normal that separatists are going on the table as separatists, while federalists go on the table as separate, and the federalists and the government of Cameroon is coming whatsoever progress on the government thing. Because up to today, the government was still talking about the decentralization, special status, and all the rest. I think those are some of the kind of things that the government might be going there with. What now based on the separatists now to convince the government to tell the government why they think is very important for them to break and go their way.
Thank you, Amadou Tarnteh. Thank you so much for coming this morning. You are working for Conscience Africaine, a human rights organization that is in charge of taking care of the plight of the less privileged in the northwest, southwest, littoral, central regions of Cameroon. Thank you so much for coming. Hopefully, we will be together next week, God willing. Thank you to Gwladys. Thank you, televiewers of My Media Prime Television, for watching this very first edition of the program for the week. And of course, the program was produced for us by Christain Tebong. Gwladys Bomotonguina was here to assist me with the presentation, hoping that we will be yours tomorrow for another edition of the program. Have a great week ahead. Bye-bye from now.